I may have to see that you cultivate a taste for the finer things, to the future.
Jeff Chandler's controversial romance with Esther Williams before his breakout portrayal as Broken Arrow's Cochise. This film exposes the scandalous and stunning narrative that explains why he hates her so much. Not only that, but you will also learn shocking facts regarding Chandler's private life and professional setbacks. We need to know Chandler's background and the events that formed him before we can dig into the combustible romance rumors. Ira Gossell, in the borough of Brooklyn, New York, was born Chandler on December 15, 1918. His Jewish parents, Anna and Philip Gossell, had just one kid. Because of a parental separation when Chandler was a kid, his mother took over his upbringing. The arts have always been a refuge for Chandler, who found it in storytelling and performing even as a young child. He met other actors, including Susan Hayward at Erasmus Hall High School, where he developed a passion for performing. At first, Chandler followed a more practical route, even if acting was his true calling. He began his career as a cashier because of his father's connections in the restaurant industry. Acting classes were beyond of Chandler's price range, but he was determined to pursue the craft. He took the easy way out and spent a year studying commercial art. He was making $18 a week at the time as a layout artist for a mail-order catalog. Chandler was so intent on realizing his ambition that he saved up enough to attend New York's Fagan School of Dramatic Art for acting classes. His doggedness paid off when he got a job in radio and then a position on Long Island with a stock company where he was an actor and stage manager. Chandler worked his way up the stock company ladder for 2 years, starring in The Trojan Horse with Gordon and Sheila McRae, two of Hollywood's most famous performers. Chandler took a risk in the summer of 1941 when he established the Shady Lane Playhouse in Illinois as his own organization. Along with Pigs, The Bad Man, Seventh Heaven, and The New Minister, the group toured the Midwest presenting these and other plays. The endeavor was somewhat fruitful, demonstrating Chandler's commitment to his profession. Chandler joined the Army when America became a combatant in World War II. He achieved the rank of lieutenant after 4 years of service, the most of which he spent in the Aleutians. Although it was a difficult time for him, he learned discipline and perseverance from it. With $3,000 in savings, Chandler relocated to Los Angeles in December 1945 after the war. On his way to a screen test, he was engaged in a catastrophic vehicle accident shortly after his arrival. The event left a noticeable scar on his forehead. Chandler remained unfazed by this obstacle. He blew up his cash trying to get a job in Hollywood at first. When he got his first job acting on the radio in May of 1946, it was his big break. Thanks to his roles in anthology dramas like Academy Award Theater and Escape, Chandler's voice became instantly recognizable to viewers. His breakout performance as Michael Shane in the radio series catapulted him to stardom. Chandler made history as the first actor to play Frontier Town's Chad Remington. After actor Dick Powell heard Chandler on the radio, he put him in Johnny O'Clock, his first film role, playing a mobster. It was a big deal for his career, even if his part was little. Unfortunately, he was not cast in Columbia's The Loves of Carmen. Mr. Belvedere Goes to College, The Invisible Wall, Roses Are Red, and others featured him in supporting parts nevertheless. The radio program Our Miss Brooks gave Chandler his breakthrough role as the romantic interest of Eve Arden. Launched in July 1948, the program quickly became a smashing success. Producers at Universal saw him perform and cast him as a prominent Israeli leader in their upcoming film Sword in the Desert. A 7-year deal with Universal was a result of his stellar performance. Under this deal, Chandler began his ascent to Hollywood stardom with a supporting part in Abandoned. He had an impressive cinematic career that began with his charismatic, talented performances, which won over viewers. Like the characters he performed, Jeff Chandler's climb to fame was spectacular. Delmer Daves, who was working at 20th Century Fox as both writer and director, was searching for the ideal actor to play Cochise in Broken Arrow in 1950. Daves required an unknown, physically intimidating actor to play the part. Thus, casting was a challenge. After seeing Chandler in Sword in the Desert, where he played a resistance commander, the studio decided to borrow him in May 1949 from Universal to play the part. The bet was successful. After Broken Arrow became an enormous success, Chandler was nominated for an Academy Award and became a Hollywood celebrity. His portrayal of an American Indian earned him an Academy Award nomination, making him a first. Thanks to Broken Arrow's success, Chandler is once again a prominent figure at Universal. Two films that he was supposed to star in, Death on a Side Street and The Lady Count, were never produced. On the contrary, he played a Lucky Luciano-style mobster in Deported, a part that was originally designed for Dana Andrews. The film, which was filmed in Italy, highlighted Chandler's adaptability. In Two Flags West, Chandler's second feature for Fox, he portrayed a disgruntled Union cavalryman directed by Robert Wise, despite the fact that he had to shoot several sequences in Hollywood due to his radio obligations. When Chandler returned to Universal, he portrayed a character that mirrored his own personality, an adventurer in Smuggler's Island. His unusual bony features, however, led Hollywood to cast him in roles involving a wide range of countries. In Bird of Paradise, he reunited with Delmer Daves and Fox to portray a Polynesian chief, a part that Chandler acknowledged was comparable to his portrayal of Cochise. Iron Man, a remake of an older Lew Ayres film, starred Chandler as a boxer when he was still at Universal. The Wild Bunch, in which he was supposed to star, was never really produced. In Flame of Araby, co-starring Maureen O'Hara, he portrayed an Arab leader instead. It was at this time that Chandler started to complain about how cinema acting was so different from radio acting. While he believed that the producer, director, and editor played significant roles in cinema, he believed that performers in radio were primarily responsible for bringing their characters to life via their voices. For Universal, Chandler returned to his role as Cochise in The Battle at Apache Pass, another Western. After that, he had roles in the swashbuckler Yankee Buccaneer and the military picture Red Ball Express. He went so far as to say that his favorite job was supporting Loretta Young in Because of You, and even had a cameo in Meet Danny Wilson. Chandler rose to prominence in 1952, becoming one of America's most beloved stars and placing 22nd among exhibitors. Fox was keen on casting him in leading parts, but Universal, seeing his potential, would not let him go. Due to contractual obligations, Chandler was unable to reprise his role as Our Miss Brooks on television. The role instead went to Robert Rockwell. During this decade, Chandler continued to explore his passion in singing, which he had previously shown on Peggy Lee's radio program. After renegotiating his contract with Universal in July 1952, Chandler saw a doubling of his earnings. The Great Sioux Uprising, a Western, was his first picture under this deal. He went on to star opposite Maureen O'Hara in East of Sumatra and War Arrow. Notable parts that Chandler passed up include playing Demetrius in the critically acclaimed film The Robe and the lead in the critically acclaimed adaptation of Magnificent Obsession. Rather, he reprised his role as Cochise in Taza, Son of Cochise, co-starring Rock Hudson. Hudson would subsequently surpass Chandler as the leading male star at Universal. Victor Mature ended up playing Chief Crazy Horse, even though Universal had originally announced Chandler for the part. Chandler, on the other hand, started singing in nightclubs and appeared in Yankee Pasha. After 5 years, he decided to take a break from Our Miss Brooks because of the show's hectic schedule. Chandler co-featured with Jane Russell in Foxfire, a part he relished for its language, and appeared as Emperor Martian in the pricey epic Sign of the Pagan. Then he started releasing recordings and collaborated with Joan Crawford on Female on the Beach. Chandler became aware of the increasing difficulty of his task in 1954. It was impossible for him to claim any time as his own due to his frequent travels for film and music engagements. After his refusal to play the lead in Six Bridges to Cross in May, Universal suspended him and cast George Nader in his stead. Despite Chandler's claims, he never really worked with Tony Curtis or Janet Leigh on a film. Noting that he couldn't go anyplace unobserved and had to constantly leave high tips to avoid being characterized as tight-fisted, he bemoaned the loss of personal freedom that comes with popularity. Regardless of his dissatisfaction, Chandler persisted in his collaboration with Universal. His rejection of the part of Lady Godiva of Coventry resulted in his second ban. He made a triumphant comeback that year with The Spoilers and went on to appear in Away All Boats, a major release for Universal. Chandler, who isn't a natural vocalist, received compliments for his performance at May's Riviera Hotel show in Sin City. He made a comedic turn in his fourth film of the year, The Toy Tiger, after starring in The Western Pillars of the Sky. As the year came to a close, Chandler had already established Earlmar, his production business, with the intention of producing films and carrying on with his acting career under a new deal with Universal. The Western Drango, in which Chandler both produced and acted, was released after Earlmar inked a contract with United Artists. Although Earlmar acquired the rights to a book, his only creation was Drango. The Tattered Dress and Man in the Shadow, both produced by Orson Welles, were Chandler's last two features under his first deal with Universal. In order to secure his place in the business for the foreseeable future, he promised to release 2 films a year at Universal until 1959. The real life of Jeff Chandler was every bit as dramatic as his acting performances. Marjorie Hochel was an actress whom he wed in 1946. Jamie Tucker was born in 1947, and Dana Gossel was born in 1949. The couple has 2 kids, but their marriage was full of ups and downs. In 1951 and 1954, they went their own ways. Chandler was chronically fatigued and would fall asleep wherever we were. Marjorie filed for divorce in 1954, citing this as her main complaint. The couple temporarily reconnected in March 1955, hoping to make amends for their family, but the reunion did not last. Chandler had an affair in 1957 when he was making a movie with Esther Williams. Marjorie filed for a divorce before year's end as a result of this affair. Although the controversy shocked Hollywood at the time, the publication of Esther Williams' memoirs, The $1 Million Mermaid, in 1999, came as the greatest shock decades later. Williams said in her autobiography that Chandler liked to dress like a woman. The epiphany, she claims, occurred one night when Chandler, a traditionally masculine character, appeared before her dressed in shoes and a dress. As Williams put it, he enjoyed that kind of thing. He was a cross-dresser. Many were taken aback by the assertion, particularly since Chandler had already died in 1961 and was unable to defend himself. Many of Chandler's acquaintances and co-workers were eager to disprove Williams's assertions. Jane Russell, who befriended Chandler on the set of Foxfire in 1955, said, "I've never heard of such a thing. Cross-dressing is the last thing I would expect of Jeff. He was a sweet guy, definitely all man." In response to Chandler's reported transgression, "It made my jaw drop. I never heard a word or whisper that intimated that about Jeff." Marcia Hunt, who co-starred with Chandler in The Plunderers in 1960, added, "It made my jaw drop." Fess Parker, who worked with Chandler on the 1959 Western The Jayhawkers, was similarly shocked, commenting, "There was no conversation, joking or otherwise, about that kind of thing on the set." Williams maintained her narrative despite the denials. "Why in the world would I tell Jane Russell about a personal problem as intimate as that?" she said, adding a layer of controversy to Chandler's public image and casting doubt on the idea of disclosing such a private matter to Jane Russell. Chandler's legacy was overshadowed by the affair and the cross-dressing claims. The financial obligations that Chandler had were exposed in his divorce papers from 1958. A monthly stipend of $1,500 was what he was giving his wife. He had a 2-film-per-year deal with Universal at the time, and he was making $60,000 for 1957 and $75,000 for 1958. With a personal manager, a business manager, and an agent eating up 25% of Chandler's salary, he still had a lot of money to spend. Chandler is still obligated to pay his wife $1,500 monthly under the court's ruling. June 1959 was the last month of their divorce. Chandler and Marjorie reached an agreement that Chandler would pay alimony of $2,166 per month, and child support of $500 per month, for a total of $100,000. Marjorie was upset that Chandler had an ulcer because he was so preoccupied with his profession that he never left his office, even when he wasn't shooting a film. Like his early career, Jeff Chandler's twilight years were full with exciting events. His outspoken backing of Israel's 1956 invasion of Egypt in the Suez Crisis had far-reaching consequences. The United Arab Republic spearheaded an effort to get his films banned in Arab nations in 1960. Chandler, a devoted Democrat, continued to be involved in Hollywood and represented the Screen Actors Guild during the actor strike of 1960. While Chandler was shooting Merrill's Marauders in the Philippines, tragedy happened. He hurt his back playing baseball for the U.S. on April 15, 1961. Military personnel from the United States Army's Special Forces who served as film extras. Injections helped him get through the production, even if they were painful. Nevertheless, the severity of the damage necessitated surgery in Culver City, California, for a herniated spinal disc on May 13, 1961. Serious problems arose from the operation. Chandler began bleeding when an artery was ruptured. He got 55 pints of blood during an emergency procedure that lasted 7.5 hours on May 17. 20 more pints of blood were required for a third procedure that took place on May 27. Chandler passed away on June 17, 1961, after a blood illness and pneumonia had taken hold of him. Chandler was seeing British actress Barbara Shelley when he passed away. Over 1,000 mourners paid their respects during his burial, with pallbearers Gerald Moore and Tony Curtis among them. Culver City's Hillside Memorial Park Cemetery is where Chandler was laid to rest. Medical misconduct was found to be the cause of Chandler's death after an inquiry. After suing the medical facility and its staff for $1.5 million, his children settled for $23,320. Even though Chandler was involved in legal issues, his impact on Hollywood was undeniable. Chandler was considered reserved despite his reputation for paying close attention to detail. His co-workers, however, spoke of his carefree attitude as a way to alleviate the stresses of filmmaking. Broken Arrow, Battle of Apache Pass, Two Flags West, Because of You, Sign of the Pagan, The Toy Tiger, Drango, Raw Wind in Eden, and The Lady Takes a Flyer were among Chandler's favorite films listed in a 1960 interview. Chandler had an impact that went beyond only his movies. Doug Wildey, creator of the cartoon series Johnny Quest, based the character Race Bannon, a white-haired veteran special agent, on Chandler. This homage brought attention to the enduring influence of Chandler in popular culture. In recognition of his many accomplishments in the film business, Jeff Chandler was honored with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame at 1770 Vine Street. He was a cherished figure in Hollywood, both behind and in front of the camera, because to his meticulousness and concentration. The life of Chandler is a tale of brilliance, perseverance, and controversy. His life had many unexpected turns, from his meteoric climb to fame to his scandalous romance with Esther Williams and tragic death. But his legacy lives on through his admirers and the amazing films he made.